Chairwoman Creighton and Commissioners, thank you very much again for having us. We heard you, and we thought very carefully as a board, as an institution, about what you said. And the points that you made were frankly valid. And while there were studies that we commissioned as a board, as a part of doing our due diligence to make sure that this was feasible, we looked at other examples that were done in the city of Cleveland where they had overwhelming success in passing a permanent levy. The voters do deserve to weigh in on whether their tax dollars are being spent responsibly. And so we're before you today, our board, and many members of our institution are before you today asking you to modify, rescind the previous ballot issue that we had submitted to you and limit that levy, instead of being a permanent levy, to make it a levy for a period of 8 years, which is exactly what we have in place. And if I may answer a previous question that was asked at the last meeting of Administrator Luther, yes, we absolutely have a plan as to how these tax dollars will be spent. And with the Commissioner's permission, I'd like to pass out a document that everyone in our institution helped create to better articulate this plan.
We would ask you to give to the press as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No question. And so we see on this document that the library prepared, right at the top, it describes exactly in more detail what our chairman, Mr. Pittman, just explained and what Deputy Director McFadden touched on at the last meeting. The state budgetary issues that are affecting our organization are very real. Now, it's not an issue of us not succeeding, that our budgets were reduced as a consequence of us not meeting our parameters or our performance requirements. Quite the opposite. It's while their libraries would have seen a far greater reduction in their state funding, ours is maintained. It's been static. The reason is because, just like the counties, as you know, obviously, your expenses in 2012 aren't the same as they are in 2018. We're an independent political subdivision. We pay our employer share of health insurance premiums. We got the same increases the county did. We have the same increases in utility costs. We have the same increases in overhead. When the board prepared this plan, we obviously looked at our budget forecasts. Going back for 3 years, extrapolating out to 2026. If we don't pass this additional increase and our funds remain the same, what I mean by that is if the levy remains at 1.7 and not 2.2, we're going to be showing a deficit as soon as the year after next. By 2026, we're going to be showing a deficit of around $900,000. We have a $15 million budget. That's a big deal. And so when Deputy Director McFadden articulated these points to you, they were accurate. And we certainly stand behind everything that she said and would hope to reaffirm it today. But one thing that we do want to spend a little bit of time on with the Commissioner's indulgence as to where the money's going beyond that. This isn't a status quo levy. This isn't a stand-in-place endeavor that we're embarking on. I can tell you that the members of this board would not be probably serving at all if we felt that the direction of the library was just standing still. And that makes a difference in terms of our state funding. Unique to certainly any political or governmental involvement that I'm familiar with, if we don't succeed, our funds are cut. What I mean by that is this. Our funding is directly tied to our circulation. Our funding is directly tied to how many people come in the door. If we do not continue to move the organization forward, then we receive a direct consequence as a result of that. It makes it rewarding to be a member of a board where you actually feel like the institution's being rewarded for success, but the numbers are real. And because we are an independent political subdivision, we are all the budget that we have. and I know this is something that the commissioners unfortunately have had to deal with historically, that when one of the divisions of Stark County government would maybe exceed their budget, there may be unallocated resources to make up for that. We don't have that luxury. And so we take our finances very, very seriously. We take our budgeting very, very seriously. And the reason why we know these numbers are accurate and reliable is because since I've been on the board, beginning in 2012, we've never had anything but unqualified clean audits. And a lot of that is due to the leadership of our president, Mr. Pittman, who is a CPA and the chair of our finance committee. And the reason why I'm going through this narrative is to articulate the thought and the planning that our board put into this effort. And so when Chairman Pittman said, we've been working on this for over a year, that is absolutely the case. And so we look at the different things that these levy funds are going to go to specifically. We have the breakdown presented there for the Commissioners' reference. $500,000 of this $3.1 million of increased funds is going to go to expand these services. This is what the library is all about. The reading programs that we have with Kansas City schools, the workforce development programs that we offer. This is where we fulfill our mission as trustees of the public in trying to enhance learning and education in our community, which is why we're there. Another portion of that is going to go to increased materials. I'm going to pause on a second as to why this is relevant, because you may see things in that description that you wouldn't normally associate with libraries. E-books, certainly, but bikes, projectors, car sensors. All of these things are what's demanded in a modern library. Because when we look at how our operations function, how we're structured, and what our competitive landscape is, our competitors aren't the Canal Fulton Public Library, not really the Summit County Public Library, it's Amazon, it's Walmart. And so if we want to keep moving this organization forward, if we want to continue to compete for the state funds that we receive, these types of forward-thinking circulation materials are where we need to invest these funds and to continue to invest these funds. Moving on to facility maintenance, these challenges are very real. Certainly, our library has budgetary constraints just like any other organization, but this has had consequences to our institution. I will go through all of it because certainly these commissioners face these same challenges every day. But we have 10 locations in 8 municipalities. We have 180 employees. These buildings have, as you would expect, wear and tear. And the required infrastructure investments that we need to make just to maintain the status quo on the assets that we do have, it will require $1 million a year in addition to the amount that we currently allocate. Now, how do we know this? Did Edmond, Mack, and the other board members just walk over to the DeHoff branch and start looking at carpet and pulling numbers out of a hat? No. This is probably the most deliberative board I've ever been a part of. We hired consultants, wealthy constructors, did a thorough review of all of our assets, and created a schedule as to what improvements need to be made and when. As part of that, we know we have a roof repair that needed to be done at the North Branch Library. We're supposed to be done in 2015, $100,000. Main branch needs a new roof. 2021, $600,000. These are expenditures that we have to incur, but we need to incur them. And the other major portion of this adjustment will go to improving our facilities. And so when you walk into our main branch or any of our branches, you'll notice that it's different. You'll see that it's set up more like a bookstore. There's books on display. They're not shelves with just the binders of books that you see. That's a part of us competing in this marketplace, because our competition is not the Minerva Library, It's what's happening in the retail stores around us. We have some amazing opportunities that are in front of this board. We have an incredible opportunity in San Valley, partnering with a potential partnership with Stark Parks to develop a beautiful piece of real estate in that area that could be just as good, if not better, of the successful collaboration that we have in Perry and Cilla. But in order to do these forward-thinking things, we need the public to invest in us. And so I'll conclude it here. One of the hallmarks of this board, and the reason, frankly, why I'm on it, is because of the professionalism and the willingness of my fellow board members to think outside the box. In 2014, our library was one of the first libraries, if not the first library in the country, to completely eliminate fines for overdue books. If you Google Stark County District Library, waive fine for overdue books, you'll see that just this December, the CEO of the New York Public Library is pitching this idea to their stakeholders. And the number one example that they use of the second largest library chain in the nation, second only to the Library of Congress, they point to us. And they say that it worked. And it did work. Our circulation increased by 11% without any noticeable loss in assets. And I bring this up not for our own personal pride, but because it's for all of our collective objectives. People are reading more books. Kids are checking out more materials. And that improves our community as a whole. And so we have a unique relationship with this Board of Commissioners because not only we certainly have the statutory authority to place this on the ballot if you would, but half of our board is appointed by your body. And so we take what you think very seriously because we do feel that what we do is, to some measure, a reflection on your own work. And so we are here today to articulate to you how serious this library takes this issue and how much thought we put into it. Because at the end of the day, our hope is that you not only will approve and put this on the ballot, but you'll ultimately support it and help us in our efforts. Thank you. And our new executive director, with the Commissioner's indulgence, Mary Ellen, will say a few words.